Hey y'all, what's good? Hello, Ali. Check this out. Right? Yeah. Jeremy laughed at me when I was getting ready for my video because it's been a hot minute since I did my hair like this. Like, this is legit lazy day hairstyle back in high school. Not even kidding. If I'd have had butterfly clips, it'd have been a whole different video. Let me tell you. I just had a revelation while I was waiting to go live. I was listening to iTunes music, feeling inspired, and I realized that I suck as a 90s kid because I barely have any Nirvana in my iTunes list. What am I doing with my life? I'm just saying. So I gotta fix that as soon as I can. Because that's not proper. That's not correct. Kurt Cobain should come back and haunt me. Well, greetings, nerdlings. Welcome back to that nerd mama life. Yeah, because words. Speaking of words, that's kind of funny. Okay, so today's weird holiday is National Haiku Poetry Day. If you do not know what haiku is, it's the 5-7-5 style of writing poetry. 5 syllables for the first line, 7 syllables for the second, and 5 for the third. Example. A 90s grunge kid, Nirvana in their bloodstream, heart eyeliner black. That would be me. Totally me. I love the 90s. Not even kidding. I was born in the 80s, but I consider myself a 90s kid because those were my formative years. The years that I actually remember. When I wasn't too little to remember. I remember the birth of the internet. I remember birth of cell phones and online chatting. Who remembers the high-pitched squealing squeak when you had to connect to the internet? Or you had to yell at your mom to tell her to hang up the phone because you wanted to use the computer? Me. It was a godsend when they finally invented splitters to where you could split the phone and the computer. That was hallelujah. Speaking of haiku, today's fun fact for today. One of my favorite websites is thinkgeek.com. You can get all things nerd related. Shirts, household stuff. This website, you need to check them out. # not sponsored. If you go onto their website at thinkgeek.com/haiku, you can actually enter a haiku in for a chance at a $50 gift card, which I have won. I have won that. They featured my poem on their website, and they sent me $50, which I # no shame spent on Funko Pops and a fabulous Marauders Map Harry Potter mug and some Harry Potter file folders for my daughter for school. Thank you, Think Geek. While we're, if you have not guessed by the weirdness going on up here and the t-shirt, hello. In nerd news, get ready to get nostalgic, y'all, because Konami just recently, I think either yesterday or they were releasing it today. I cannot remember. But they're actually releasing the 50th anniversary collection for PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC. A classic package, which will include classics such as Castlevania, Contra, and their arcade classics, like Haunted Castle and Typhoon. They're also set to release standalone sets for all of the Castlevania games and all of the Contra games this summer. Are you kidding? Yes. Please, yes. All of the old school games coming back. They're coming back. Younger generations are gonna be shook when their parents get a hold of these things and enlighten them on what it was like to be around for the birth of these things. Which brings me to my topic of the day. Retro gaming. What's the appeal? And it's not just retro gaming either. It seems like even fashion trends are coming back. All the 90s stuff. Like, my daughter has got a bunch of, like, the chokers that us girls wore. And I see butterfly clips in the stores. Am I really that old? I mean, that I'm seeing this stuff come back. I mean, it was only 20 years ago. But I digress. So what's the appeal of retro gaming? We've seen, all these companies are releasing old classics. They're bringing back the retro systems. You can get Nintendo, Sega, arcade games. You can get these systems that include hundreds of these wonderful retro games. Games that people my age grew up playing when they came out. So the appeal for me, at least, and my generation, is these are things we grew up with. This is nostalgic for us. This is like, oh my god. Like, when I heard that they came out with the Nintendo retro system, I was like, I have to have that in my house. I have to. I just have to. Because it included, like, the Mario games and Zelda, which, if anybody knows me, they know how big of a Zelda fan I am. I love Zelda. I remember the gold cassette, Legend of Zelda, and my, crappy Nintendo that if you were in my house, you had to stick a butter knife between the top of the slot and the game cartridge to keep the game cartridge down so it would actually work. Because that's how often we played ours in my house. I taught my mom how to play. That was funny. That was fun because she would sit in the middle of the floor, this like 50-year-old woman sitting in the middle of the floor like a little kid with a controller and trying to... Who's done that? Yeah. Thinking that, somehow the motion would make you jump faster or farther. Didn't work, but it made us feel better. Now, when it comes to this generation, what makes it cool to them? It's considered vintage. It's on trend. They hear their parents talking about this and like, okay, well, maybe we find out what's up. Let's see why it's so cool. And then they get into it and they're like, oh, this is kind of neat. My parents were kind of right, The graphics are like vintage cool. and they're not so complicated. Gaming today has gotten really complicated, and don't get me wrong, I love gaming then and now. I love playing video games, but it's retro gaming has become another generation gap bridge where parents can tell their kids about it and get excited about it, and then the kids are like, hey, this is actually kind of cool. And then it becomes a thing that the parents and kids can share, like their love and their passion of these video games. And it's getting parents and kids talking. Like, well, what do you like about them? Let's get a kid's opinion. Hello, Leah.
Hi.
Come join me. This is my daughter, Leah. She's 15 years old. She's in high school. What do you think about all these systems coming back?
I've heard a lot about them, and I've always wanted to see, what they were like when you guys were playing them. Like, it seems interesting, and, it sparks curiosity.
What kind of things do you like about retro gaming? Like, what's your favorite retro game?
I can't really choose on that one.
Okay, if you could give me a top 3.
I've seen you play a lot of Final Fantasy, and I think that's pretty cool.
Final Fantasy VIII, my favorite, by the way. Don't you play Spyro?
I love that game.
It was so funny because she's always been kind of obsessed with dragons. So when I was looking for games to download on our PS3, I was like, hey, hello, Spyro. Ooh. And it was so crazy because I got it so cheap when the PlayStation Store was still open and still cool. And she spent like hours playing it after I downloaded it. And she still plays it. And and yes, Final Fantasy, she laughs at me when I play Final Fantasy because I get frustrated. because I started playing Final Fantasy back soon after it came out. I still haven't finished it. It's taken me this long just to get to disc 4. Because for some reason or another, stuff comes up and I've never finished it. So yeah, that's on my bucket list. Is to eventually finish Final Fantasy VIII. Yeah.
It's hilarious to watch her.
What do you think other kids your age find appealing about retro gaming other than like it's something their parents thought were cool?
A lot of kids just get into trends, like they're so focused on the media, what's,
Hi.
like what's the big topic, follow what other people are doing.
Why are you trying to lick my eyeball? That felt weird. Anyway, sorry.
Kids are more focused on the internet and, computers, tablets, iPads, iPhones especially.
Yeah.
I have no idea how many kids I've caught on their iPhones during class.
Yeah.
Like, they're focused on trends, is on trend. I wonder how this is gonna be.
So for the younger generation, it's mostly because it's on trend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Which is cool, because I mean, if it's something that's on trend and kids are getting interested in it, hey, it just makes a wider audience for these gaming companies that are releasing these things. You know, it just brings a wider audience. It just makes them more money, because kids are gonna be like, hey, mom, dad, I heard about such and such system coming out. Can you hook me up with that? Or even like, I know that here not too long, a year or two ago, they came out with a Final Fantasy for your phone. They came out with an app. And I was like, what? But unfortunately, my iPad's so ancient that, you know, I can't update the operating system to download it, to try it, so eventually. So, honestly, like, retro gaming, as long as it's making money and it does. Allie said the Final Fantasy app sucked. I've heard mixed reviews on it, so I'm kind of like, I'm gonna see. I'm gonna wait and see before I make my final decision. Is that your final answer? No. But yeah. Eventually, you know, I will be able to get an updated system here. That's okay. But yeah, as long as it's, you know, it's a good thing in my opinion. I think retro gaming is a good thing because it's a generational gap bridge. It's bringing the older crowd like me together with our children who just think it's cool to be vintage or retro because it's on trend. Hey, if it brings generations together, even better. I think it's awesome. And I'm really looking forward to more companies bringing more things back. Because like I said, I want one of those Nintendo retro systems because I want to sit for hours and play Mario and play Zelda.
She's not even joking. She will do that.
I have before. I'm waiting for them to come out with a retro system for the GameCube. I'm waiting for that one. Because really the only game on GameCube that I really loved was Luigi's Mansion. And I want them to come out with a retro system so I can get a hold of that. I love that game. Well, my nerdlings, that is all I have for you today. Thank you, Leah, for joining me. I'm trying to talk the fam into doing a Family Friday video so we can get to know everybody in the nerdling house. My husband's giving me a dirty look right now. I love you. I love you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Stay nerdy, friends.